These are very sad times and painful times for the people of this country. As I was listening to Bryce Simmons explain, unpack this whole Agyapa scam, I felt like crying for Ghana. And I felt so because it is heart-wrenching for our duty bearers, the very leaders that we have elected and trusted with our mandate and with the responsibility to manage our limited resources and to apply same judiciously for the benefit of all of us, to come together to shortchange the way, in a manner, this whole Agyapa deal sought to shortchange the country, as explained by Bryce Simmons. He has set the context right. You have done so as well, so I won't waste time on that. The bottom line is that for us in the NDC, we hold the position that the Agyapa deal was and is inimical to the interests of the Ghanaian people. Because what it basically sought to do was to sell forward our mineral royalties for a pittance and at a grossly undervalued price, as posterity has shown. If you do the analysis of what they sought to do, we're virtually giving our gold resources for $200 per ounce, when today posterity has shown that the price is $2,000 and above. So clearly this was a ripoff, and it was going to deprive future governments of critical mineral royalties for the development of this country. It was on this basis that throughout the advocacy on this Agyapa deal, we took a principled, patriotic stance to stand with the people of this country. That is why we boycotted the approval process, which was a sham in Parliament. And that is why our then flag bearer, who is still our current flag bearer, back then promised to abrogate the Agyapa deal if he had been elected in 2020. Well, that position has not changed. But today, what is of concern to us, what we are totally appalled and disgusted by, is the disclosure, the shocking disclosure by the CEO of MIF before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, to the effect that about $12 million, equivalent to 153 million Ghana cedis, which is equivalent to 1.5 trillion old Ghana cedis, has been spent on the botched, aborted Agyapa deal. That is what is of concern to us. That is what we are shocked and totally scandalized by. And we are very clear in our minds, Samson, that this so-called expenditure, like one of your texts said, is nothing but naked robbery, naked thievery, naked corruption, and an abuse of the public purse. Those payments constitute willfully causing financial loss to the state, which is a crime under our laws, and that is why we are saying that the monies must be retrieved and the perpetrators must not go scot-free. Now, that promise we have made, that decision we have taken, is not going to be difficult at all. For me, it's a very simple, open and shut matter. Because, Samson, you know, as my senior at the bar, that you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. The Agyapa royalties mineral investment agreements that went to Parliament for approval, these expenditures we are all outraged about, that we are talking about, are all fruits of a poisonous tree. The tree that has given us this, that gave birth to these fruits, these transactions, is poisonous. And therefore, the payments made, which are the fruits I'm talking about, the agreements arising from same, cannot stand the test of time. Because this whole Agyapa scam came about through what is called the mandate agreement, signed between the government of Ghana and so-called transaction advisors, specifically Imara Corporate Finance of South Africa and their local partners, Data Bank. Now, we know from the Corruption Risk Assessment Report of the Office of Special Prosecutor, the findings of which have not been impeached or controverted by anybody in government as we speak, that the processes leading to that mandate agreement and the mandate agreement itself was unlawful. It was unconstitutional. It was illegal. It was null, void, and of no effect. Why? Because number one, the special prosecutor has found beyond every reasonable doubt that there was procurement rigging and therefore a clear breach of the public procurement law. In the sense that Imara, which eventually won the bid to be the main transaction advisor, was not part of the first four companies who were presented to the Public Procurement Authority for approval relative to the restricted tendering process the government sought to use. They were not part of that. They were smuggled in at the second stage. Again, Data Bank, which is a company founded by the then finance minister, who still has business interests in that company, was not part of that process, but was also smuggled in on the basis of a clause, a condition that required the companies who were bidding for this transaction advisor role to show that they had an eligible Ghanaian firm for their bids to be considered favorably. And that condition was not part of the initial request that went to the Public Procurement Authority. These were all done post facto, after the fact, in clear breach of the Public Procurement Law. If you read page 10 and 11 of Martin Amidu's Corruption Risk Assessment Report, it gives you all the details of this procurement rigging that went on and why the processes leading to the mandate agreement were flawed and void for breach of the Public Procurement Law. Again, the payments are unlawful and therefore null and void because they arise from a mandate agreement which sins against Section 4, Section 7, Section 23, 4, and so on of the Public Financial Management Act, in the sense that that agreement was signed for and on behalf of the government of Ghana by a person who had no locus, no legal capacity to sign that agreement. It was signed by a Deputy Minister of Finance, Charles Adubuaye, who, under the Public Financial Management Act, is not the chief spending officer of the Ministry of Finance and therefore lacks the legal capacity to commit the Republic of Ghana to such an agreement. Therefore, the agreement is void ab initio. Thirdly, the agreement is unlawful and the payments, and so are the payments arising from same. Because according to Martin Amidu, and this is a fact, not even according to Martin Amidu, the fact is the main transaction advisor, Imara Corporate Finance of South Africa, is a foreign company. And therefore, their involvement in the transaction made the transaction an international business or economic transaction within the meaning of Article 181, Clause 5 of the 1992 Constitution. The Attorney General versus Faro Atlantic case is clear. The Waterville, Woyome, Isophoton cases are clear. By virtue of the involvement of that foreign company in that so-called mandate agreement, the deal had to be approved by Parliament. But that was not done, which makes the deal unconstitutional and null and void. Therefore, you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. In the sense that government cannot claim to have made valid payments to any transaction advisor, being Imara or Data Bank belonging to the cousin of President Akufo-Addo, Ken Uforiata, or their external consultants. The payments which were made to White and Case, the payments which were made to Benchi Enchel of Asa Nkuma, the payments which were made to African Legal Associates are all unlawful, null and void, and of no effect because they arise from this mandate agreement which violates several laws of this country. And so to that extent, the state must recover these monies. And we need to do so not only because the transactions are unlawful, but mainly because Ghanaians have not benefited anything from these transactions and these payments. There's been no value that has accrued to the people of this country for the 153 million Ghana cedis that has been wasted on this transaction.
I do not want to suggest that every matter must be litigated in a court, and very sensitive, politically, inclined issues should be left with one judge or 2 or 3 judges to determine our fate.
Yeah.
But you make judicial pronouncements. You say unlawful, illegal, unconstitutional, null and void. There is no judicial pronouncement to that effect.
Just like when Atayi was terrorizing everybody in this country, there was no judicial determination at the time that he was an armed robber, but we knew he was an armed robber. You don't become an armed robber after the judicial. You become an armed robber based on your acts. Before we can even take you to court for armed robbery, we should have evidence, and we should have taken the position that based on the evidence and the facts, you are an armed robber. And so you are a suspect. So we are saying that based on the facts, based on the evidence, which have not been controverted in any way, that as Adubuahin signed the agreement, and that per the Public Financial Management Act, he didn't have the locus to do so. Number 2, that the agreement involved a foreign company, which made it an international business transaction within the meaning of Article 181 Clause 5. And therefore, on the basis of the Faro Atlantic case, the Waterville, Isophoton, Woyome cases, the agreements are null and void. Again, the fact that the transaction involved procurement rigging, because it is a fact that Imara was not part of the first 4 companies that were shortlisted and presented to the PPA for approval. Neither was Data Bank part of that process, and so on. And the fact that the one who had overall oversight responsibility over the procurement exercise was the finance minister, who had a business interest in Data Bank, whose foreign partner was selected as the transaction advisor through that opaque procurement process. So to that extent, we as a political party hold the view that the transactions, specifically the mandate agreement and the processes leading to same, are unlawful, null and void, and of no effect. For which reasons any payments made under same are unlawful, and recoveries. Exactly.
Okay. And then there will be prosecutions.
Prosecutions, exactly. And we are saying so that apart from it being unlawful and all that, I mean, what have we as a people benefited from those payments? 153 million Ghana cedis. Do you know what that could have done for us, Samson? Not too long ago on this very platform, you were discussing the closure of the RENA unit of Kolebo.
4 million Ghana cedis.
Over 4 million Ghana cedis indebtedness of government. 19 Ghanaians painfully died because the government of Akufo-Addo and Bawumia and the MPP said they don't have 4 million cedis to clear that debt. Only yesterday, I was watching Joy News, and I saw the new CEO of Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital complaining that they don't even have enough dialysis machines to treat Ghanaians suffering from various kidney conditions. As I speak to you today, look at the problems confronting us. We are a bankrupt nation. We can't even pay our debt. National service personnel for 4 months have not been paid their allowances. NAPCO beneficiaries are owed 9 months arrears of their meager allowances. There are communities in Ghana today where children are still schooling under trees. People are drinking water from streams which look like chocolates in this country. There are many communities in this country where even if a snake should bite you, you cannot get a cheap compound or a clinic or any health facility for treatment within 100 kilometers. And you take 153 million cedis and waste it on something that you yourself, you have abandoned, you have suspended. We don't know the state, the thing is dead underwater. You understand? We have not derived any benefit from it. And the agreements on the basis of which you claim to have paid these consultants are unlawful. Why must we not recover our money?
The issue of the dialysis places you are using as examples, they likely may be with us for a longer time, because as you said, we have heard from Komfo-Anokye also, very sad developments there. There should be about 100 machines like that there. Kolebu should have these machines in their hundreds, but we can't seem to afford them to put them there. And those of us who are managing the state, when we are in need, we fly, we catch the
outside the country,
the next flight.
Exactly.
I saw kits from this school, Trinity Star School in Dansoman, they had to contribute, I think about 100 and almost 200,000 to go and support the dialysis unit at Konfanoche, at Kolebu Teaching Hospital. But the question is, once Parliament gave its blessing, don't you see that the potential of making any recoveries and making any prosecutions will be zero?
Not at all. Because Parliament gave its blessing primarily to the Mineral Royalties Investment Agreement, authorizing Agyapa to go and list on the stock exchange and do the investment they sought to do. You understand? Parliament did not approve the mandate agreements engaging the transaction advisors. What Parliament approved has not been executed. It's been suspended. So no payments have been made under what Parliament approved. The payments have been made under what Parliament did not approve. The mandate agreement engaging the so-called consultants, Gabi, Kenoforia Test Company, Isan Commerce Legal Firm, and so on. Those are the people who are the beneficiaries of this $12 million unlawful payments we are talking about. Okay. So we are saying that that post facto parliamentary approval by the MPP majority cannot whitewash or exculpate the corporates of this scam from liability, because, like I said, those agreements are fruits of a poisonous tree. That tree, the tree that gave birth to myth, the tree that gave birth to Agyapa, the tree that gave birth to all those payments is a mandate agreement. Yeah. Once that mandate agreement is illegal and unconstitutional, no payments made under same are valid and can stand the test of time.
Right.
And so I want to conclude.
My final question to you here before you come in here is this one. Nonetheless, I like to say that when we refer to Bentiencho, we know is your biggest private legal firm in this country.
Of course.
It's famed and does business across the globe.
Of course.
Right.
We won't take that away from them at all.
No, the fact that I see you mention Ace to it, and as if it's a one-man
boutique, he's a key actor there. And he used to be very regular on this show, and I remember a lot of things he said about payments such as this, which violated laws of this country.
What do you say when you are told that this agreement, this project you are so against, in the year 2011, the NDC was in government, and the NDC actually submitted a process for the purposes of doing the same thing, the Ghana Gold Company. What do you say to that?
And that process or that company undervalued our gold royalties, and that company engaged in procurement rigging. That company engaged in breaches of the Public Financial Management Act and the supreme law of the land, the 1990s.
In principle, it was supposed to hold our gold royalties and equity interests.
The fact that under the NDC, it was contemplated that we could securitize or monetize our gold royalties in a certain way is not to say that we did what has been done. In any case, that contemplation was never crystallized and never implemented because the government did not see wisdom in it. We abandoned it. We never engaged in these gross violations of the laws of this country. Neither did we occasion a $12 million loss to the state like they have done. And so when people, like you said, every Ghanaian, and this for me is very important, must be interested in the recovery of these illegal payments, these wasteful payments, and the punishment of the perpetrators.
You actually tied
and the role we have, of course, and the role we have is by ensuring that the people responsible for these loot are booted out of office. Our surest bet of getting genuine accountability is when we elect the nation builder John Dramani Mahama, who has shown both in office and out of office that he has a clear will to investigate this matter and retrieve the funds for the state and punish the perpetrators. I'm just concluding, the same cannot be said about our main opponent, who is himself an accomplice in these corrupt schemes, a beneficiary of these corrupt schemes, and who has not indicated any willingness, any desire to even investigate these matters. let alone prosecute people and make retrievals for the state. Finally, Samson.
You're referring to Dr. Bawumia.
Dr. Bawumia is the one I'm talking about. You know that he is himself.
There is no finding of wrongdoing against him.
Oh, there is a finding of wrongdoing against him in the FTI report relative to the PDS deal for his unlawful conduct in changing what Parliament had done. Changing a condition precedent into condition subsequent when he had no power to do so, and a requirement of a bank guarantee, which caused us a debt of a loss of $2 billion. I'm just concluding by saying that anybody who seeks to hide behind a ruling or a judgment by an ECOWAS court on a human rights matter, the ratio decidendi of which is basically that your own state institution, key among which is your parliament, approved the deal. And the harm you are complaining of has not occurred. You are being preemptive. And so we can't do anything about it. It's a partaker of this heinous crime which has been committed against
Richard,
let's not engage in such justification.